What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Nice Catch Podcast. We're here to catch you up on all the latest football news and analysis. I'm Baden.
And I'm Hank. Today, we'll be covering some headlines, but this episode will be focused on the 2025 NFL Draft, which I am excited.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked before about how much I love the draft, and we're here. It's the draft episode. Sorry, it's been a while since another episode. My computer broke, and we had spring break, and I did not sleep. Just kidding, I did sleep. But we're back.
Oh, yeah.
And we are
about time.
And we are ready. It's going to be fun. Another headline that I may have been even more excited for than I was for the draft. It may have been an hour between having classes in school, and I get the headline, I see it on ESPN, and I might have just not read my book that I should have read whenever I saw this headline. It may have made me that excited because Joe Milton was traded to the Dallas Cowboys. Joe Milton, I think we've mentioned him on here before about teams that need a backup, maybe trading for him, and that's exactly what the Cowboys did. They gave a 5th and got Joe Milton and a 7th round pick. And the reason I'm so excited is that Joe Milton is an insane athlete. Like, athletically, he's Cam Newton and Josh Allen. Yeah. He's 6'5", 247 pounds. According to himself, he has thrown a football 97 yards in game. Watching Tennessee highlights, he's thrown 60-plus yards several times. Just the way that he runs. This guy, if he develops, he could be the next Cam Newton. And with Dak having a few more years on his contract, but probably not playing too much longer in Dallas, I think Joe Milton at least gives a good possible future to the Cowboys.
Yeah, no, I think the situation with the Cowboys, quarterback-wise, I think that's a really smart move. Obviously, Trey Lance, kind of a bust. And Dak Prescott is still a good quarterback, but he doesn't have much left in the tank, I think. And so bringing in this new guy who you know has athleticism, you know he has an arm, and now it's just developing. And like we've talked about at least once, and it feels like the past 4 or 5 episodes, just the concept of having a younger quarterback developing behind a veteran player. And that's exactly what you have here. And I love Joe Milton, and I'm hoping that it definitely works out a little better than what we saw with Trey Lance and what we see on some of these other teams. I think this is a perfect move. And Joe Milton, just seeing him play, he plays with a lot of heart, and I think that's always fun to watch. Yeah,
100%. Definitely. I'm glad you brought up Trey Lance because that was kind of a similar thing that didn't work. And so, of course, like, Joe Milton wasn't nearly as highly, recruited in the draft as Trey Lance was. Trey Lance being number 3 overall, and then the Cowboys traded a 4th for him. Joe Milton going in the 6th round, and the Cowboys giving a 5th and getting him in a 7th. So, if Trey Lance didn't work out, that does make me worry a little bit about Joe Milton. But just the athlete that he is, I'm at least excited to see him play this preseason, maybe fill in a few games this season. But yeah, I love this. It made me so excited. So that's headline number 1. Headline number 2 has been a headline for a very long time, is just Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So, why Aaron Rodgers is a headline again is because Derek Carr is a headline. With Derek Carr having a shoulder injury that could even sideline him for this whole season. So, 1, that makes the Saints a destination for a quarterback in the draft, potentially. So we'll talk about that. But 2, it possibly makes them a spot for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. We can continue to talk about this. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, just waiting this long, there's been we've seen so many different headlines pop up, so many, a possible team here, working on a contract here. I think it's a huge question mark at this point. If he will get on a team, or if he even wants to continue playing, because it seems like he does, but I have a theory. It might be far-fetched. I don't think it's far-fetched, but I can say this now or later about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, go ahead.
In relation to the draft, I think it's very possible that either, I think the same scenario, but different ways, is either Aaron Rodgers is waiting to make a decision until to see how the draft goes, see what teams are taking quarterbacks, where he could fit best, or the opposite. Other teams are waiting to see how the draft goes before they make a decision there. That's a theory that I have, just because it seemed like, Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. Well, no, not exactly. He just hasn't made any definitive move, and it's pretty late. It's been a long time. And so I think that it's possible that either the teams or him or a mix of both are kind of waiting to see what happens with the draft.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, because I don't think, obviously, teams don't view him as the caliber starter he once was.
No.
If they did, he would already be signed. And I think the biggest piece here isn't that he can't play football anymore, because he put up good stats last year. The biggest question is his locker room presence and just his team presence, which we've seen kind of come into question in recent years.
Yeah.
I remember seeing an interview with him, or at least someone quoting him saying, yeah, I'm at that stage in my career where, I don't really need to practice anymore. It's like, you're an athlete. I haven't been an athlete since freshman year of high school, but, at any level, you never reach where you don't need to practice anymore.
Never.
It's just, it shows cockiness from Aaron Rodgers that wouldn't really flow well in a locker room.
No,
go ahead.
Well, and I think that waiting this long doesn't help your locker room presence. Not making a decision, or even worse, think about the Steelers and that team when you have, we're going to get Aaron Rodgers. Oh, never mind, he backed. That does not, if he decides to go with the Steelers, think about the locker room presence there. It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think. And they're professionals, and I think they would get over it, but that's still a big part. That's a huge aspect in your team. Team chemistry is so important that even though they would be professionals and they'd play through whatever feelings or chemistry that there is or isn't, I just don't think that's helpful at all. All this just waiting this long. And even though it can be strategic, I just think on locker room presence, on team chemistry, I don't know that it's very helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
And all the time he's missing out getting to know the people and training before the season. He's cutting his time shorter and shorter, learning the playbooks, doing all these things. He's just giving himself less and less time.
100%. So that'll be interesting. It'll be sad. I mean, it looks like right now retirement is what's next for him, and it's sad to see, a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best quarterbacks of our generation, go out like this.
Yeah.
But, it happens. This is just how guys go out sometimes. But some other guys are coming into the league. Ooh, how about that transition?
Yeah, there we go.
No, that wasn't that good. Anyway, let's talk about the draft. Let's start. I made a mock draft that I will try and post on our Instagram after this. But let's just go over the top 10. I think the top 10 is where the most questions are, and just some of the most the picks that are most looked forward to, obviously, are in the top 10. So I say let's go down. I don't know if I'll go down my list, and if you disagree or whatever, we can.
Perfect.
Yeah, just
go down your list.
Play it by ear.
I'll give my own insights at each point.
Perfect. Sounds good. Number 1, I think, is pretty solidified. Cam Ward. The Titans need a quarterback. I'm kind of desperately. I don't think Will Levis is just done. Well, I don't think he's someone who can't find a roster spot. I think he's someone who can be like a good backup in this league still. He needs to develop, as we've seen. His decision-making needs to improve, but we even saw it improve some over last season. So, but I think the Titans need a quarterback. If they haven't made a move, if they didn't make a move free agency, Cam Ward is going to be the pick here. I think that one is pretty much set in stone at this point.
Yeah, no disagreement here. I'm 100% behind you. I don't see the Titans not taking a quarterback.
Yeah.
Do they need a lot of roster spots filled? Yes. Is quarterback the most important one at that point? Absolutely, 100%. Yes. And Cam Ward is the guy. So I have 100% faith in Cam Ward.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that he's athlete. I think he's a terror on the field, and so I think that's going to be a fine fit for him and the Titans.
Yeah.
So yeah, no disagreement there. Absolutely, Cam Ward goes first overall.
Okay, good. I like it. You sound a little higher on Cam Ward than even I am, and I love Cam Ward. Watching him in college, like anytime Miami was playing, like I wanted to watch that game.
Yeah.
Part of it was their defense was bad, and so he had to put up a lot of points. The wide receivers that he had, but just his pocket presence, and just the throws he was able to make, like so amazing. I'm really excited to even watch him play in the NFL. I don't know how he'll work out with the Titans. The Titans haven't had great luck with quarterbacks recently. I mean, Marcus Mariota didn't last long. Tannehill led them to an AFC championship and then didn't last long after that. And then they've just kind of been on a quarterback carousel since then.
Yeah.
Number 2, I think, is Travis Hunter. I think the Browns need the best player, and they really need a wide receiver. Opposite Jerry Jeudy, they don't really have anyone, and I think Hunter brings them this. Although I do want to say, I don't really know where I stand on Travis Hunter. He is obviously a great athlete, and his ball skills are amazing. I mean, we've seen the contested catch skills, but I'm not sure he's the caliber that people think he is. I wonder about injuries and longevity with him playing both ways, but with the hype that's around him, I think he'll be at number 2, but I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't. It's not that I don't think that would be a good pick, but I just think in the Browns' situation right now, and especially with new comments from their general manager, I think quarterback is a very possible move. If I were to make this list, I'd probably go quarterback.
Okay.
Because Deshaun Watson, we've found he's going to be out another season. And beyond that, they have Kenny Pickett, and
they recently signed Joe Flacco too.
And Joe Flacco. So that's not the strongest QB room, I would say. And is Joe Flacco he's a veteran. He's been in the league for a long time. Won a Super Bowl, been on many different teams. So he is somebody that you could use to develop a younger guy. And so I wouldn't be surprised personally if we saw, I don't think Shador, but if we saw Jalen Milroe maybe go earlier than a lot of people would think.
At number 2 overall, you think Jalen Milroe?
I don't know that he's a better pick for a different team than Travis Hunter, but I think for the Browns, I think they need a quarterback, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Milroe goes above Shador Sanders.
Okay,
and so I think next quarterback on the list, Browns take Jalen Milroe.
Okay, that's interesting. I've seen Jalen Milroe all over the board because obviously, I mean, he needs to develop a lot, but athletically, kind of like what we said about Joe Milton, he's insane.
Yeah. Just
the way he's able to run, the way he's able to throw. If he develops, he could be like Lamar Jackson. But his development is just a huge question in my mind. I could see him going late first round. That's where I think most drafts that I've seen have him second or a day 2 pick or maybe late first round. Number 2, I don't know. I wouldn't draft him number 2 just because of the development questions.
That's fair.
But his high end is going to be, I mean, whoever drafts him is going to have a project, but a project with a lot of possible reward.
Do you think it's possible that the Browns trade down?
Yes, I do think it's possible the Browns trade down if they're not drafting a quarterback. If they do draft a quarterback, again, I don't know where Shador really lands because his college stats were pretty good. I mean, really good depending on how you want to look at it. And then after college up to like the draft, or we're not at the draft, up to like the combine, not very good. And then his pro day, he put up really good numbers.
Yeah.
So I don't really know where he's gonna land. We'll talk about Jackson Dart in a minute too. But yeah, I definitely think the Browns trading down. A lot of these I think people could trade down. But I don't know who exactly would trade up to number 2.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you trade up to number 2 who you're going to want to get. Probably Shador, but I don't know if anyone wants to trade up to 2 for Shador. I think people will kind of just let him slide and see what happens.
For sure. All right, I threw out my crazy take.
Okay, I like it. Hey,
I don't know that I'll have a much crazier one than that, but you never know.
Look,
We still got a lot of draft left.
last year, if you had said Michael Penix was going to go to the Falcons at number 8, people would be like, wow. Yeah, like, there's no way.
We'd never have another listener.
No. But it happened. And so we would have had a lot more listeners.
We would have had a lot. Yeah.
So if Jalen Milroe goes number 2, we called it.
Exactly.
So, or you called it.
I'll
give you the credit there. Number 3, the Giants. I have them taking Abdul Carter. And as I said with the Browns, the Giants aren't in a great place with a quarterback, but I think they need the best player.
Yeah.
And I think they wait in a quarterback. I think both the Browns and the Giants won't win much this year. Although the Giants do have a better situation. Well, they both have like a star player. The Browns have Myles Garrett, and the Giants have Malik Neighbors. But honestly, I trust Russell Wilson right now about the same as I trust the rookie Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur needs to develop more. He needs to learn the NFL. His playmaking ability is probably a little better than Russ at this time, but Russell Wilson has experience that Shedeur obviously doesn't have. I think Abdul Carter is the best defender in this class, and he can be a pillar on the Giants' defense for years to come. So that's what I have for number 3.
No, no complaints, no contest here. I definitely think that, like you said, quarterback situation, not great, but you've brought in Russ. He's going to help you get through a few more seasons. You have a great receiver. And so boosting up your defense, I think that's a perfect move at number 3.
Cool. I'm surprised if you had pushed back with the Browns for quarterback. You didn't have pushback with the Giants for quarterback. But
I think the Browns quarterback situation is a lot worse.
That's fair.
Than the Giants quarterback situation. I think you can get 1 or 2 more good years and wait with Russ. You can't wait, I don't think, with the Browns.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, also, the Browns just don't have many weapons on offense. They don't have a star running back or a wide receiver outside Jerry Jeudy.
That's true.
Or tight end. Like, Njoku's good, but there's not much going on there on offense. Number 4, the first, non-skill player, player you'd buy a jersey of pick. I think offensive line starts here with Will Campbell. The Patriots need offensive line help. Their offensive line was not great last year, and they need Drake May to succeed. And grabbing offensive line at number 4, I think is going to be the best way to do that. And Will Campbell, obviously it's a really deep class of offensive tackles, but on tape, on the stats, on the combine, Will Campbell's the best tackle in the class. So if the Patriots can get, a left tackle or whatever, any offensive lineman at number 4, Will Campbell's the best option here.
For sure. I don't know that I have much to add on that one. I think that's completely fair.
Great. Another one, probably, again, someone who you won't buy a jersey of as much just because he's an interior defensive lineman. I think Aaron Donald's maybe the only interior defensive lineman that we buy jerseys of. But Mason Graham, again, the Jags need a lot. Yeah. They need wide receivers. They need defensive backs. They need a running back. Maybe, ETN has not done well. But Mason Graham can just be a brick wall on defense. The line already has Joshua Hines-Allen, but adding Mason Graham solidifies their defensive line, maybe helps them get out of the bottom 5 teams in the NFL.
For sure, no, yeah. I definitely think defensive line's a good move there. There's some very obvious gaps in the receiver, just the skill player area, pretty much as a whole. Even wide receiver, running back, even tight end.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to the Giants there, but in I'd say a better position in the Giants skill player wise, because they have athletes.
Yeah, they have Brian Thomas,
but they just haven't been executing. Last season they didn't execute.
Yeah.
And so I think continuing to develop on the offense and then boosting up that defense, I think that's a good move.
Cool. Raiders, this one was very different than what a lot of people have. I really looked into this pick because, just to be honest, I don't want the Raiders to draft Ashton Jeanty. I love Ashton Jeanty, and as a Cowboys fan, can I just get my selfish wish and get Ashton Jeanty, please? We'll see. I don't think he'll make it all the way to 12 in the Cowboys, but I don't think Ashton Jeanty is the move that the Raiders will take here. I think the Raiders will take wide receiver. They'll take Tetroa McMillan at this number 6 pick. The Raiders, they've had a good start to this offseason, but they still need a lot. As I said, Jeanty's going to be really hard to pass up on. But looking at the Raiders, I think going wide receiver in the first round and running back later is a better move than them. They have running backs who can, who can get good carries. They traded for Raheem Mostert. I can't remember. I think it was a trade. I don't remember if it was just a free agent signing. Who, again, is old, doesn't have much left in the tank, but he's a running back who can get you some good carries, some good explosiveness. They still have Zamir White. They have running backs who can manage. Aside from Jacoby Myers, I don't know if they have any wide receivers who can even manage.
Yeah.
So I think wide receiver is a bigger need than a running back, so I think the Raiders address this first.
Okay. I'm not even kidding. I was getting ready to disagree with you and say that they're going to take Jeanty. And then just to check myself, I looked up to make sure I knew that the wide receiver core that they're dealing with, and I am no longer going to disagree with you. Jacoby Myers, he's an athlete. And I would say at this level, he is a good, in the grand scheme of wide receivers in the NFL, he's a good number 2.
Yeah.
Beyond that, they just don't have anyone. And so I think going wide receiver, I think that's definitely more important to address at this point. So I will not disagree with you on that one. I definitely think either move, I think if they take Jeanty, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think looking at their roster, wide receiver is probably a more crucial hole to fill at this point.
Yeah, which is exactly what I was thinking. Because they need a running back, but I was just looking at different mock drafts and just looking at their roster, and as you said, wide receiver is just a really big need for them. Number 7, this was the hardest one to pick starting from the top. Obviously, the Patriots and the Jags have holes that in a lot of different areas and no just glaring. Well, the Patriots really need offensive linemen, but those were both kind of confusing. The Jets was the team that was really confusing. Offensive line, somewhere they need a lot of help, but they also need playmakers. They have Breece Hall, so they're not really in play for Jeanty, in my opinion. They have Garrett Wilson, but they don't have much across from him. But I think at this point, the Jets are going to grab Tyler Warren, best tight end in a class with a few good tight ends. As I said, the Jets need a lot, but Tyler Warren can be the playmaker for the Jets this year in a similar way that Brock Bowers was for the Raiders last year. He's that kind of player. He can block, he can run, he can catch. I don't know what Tyler Warren can't do. He threw a touchdown for Penn State last season. This guy, as we've said with several, but he's an insane athlete. I think he's the best pick for the Jets here at number 7.
For sure. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you with that one.
Okay.
I think that the Jets are definitely they're a pretty well-rounded team. I would say in general they have, at least at every position they have somebody that they can work with. They have a good running back. They have a good receiver. Their defense is pretty. They have athletes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's an amazing defense, but they can get the job done for now. And so a tight end, like you said, that helps with the blocking and also is a weapon on offense. I think that's a great move for the Jets.
Perfect. Yeah, there's a lot of ways they could go here. Offensive line is something I wouldn't be surprised about. But if I'm drafting for the Jets, I draft Tyler Warren.
I definitely think the Jets is a more open pick at this point. There's they could kind of go not anywhere, but they could go a lot of directions. There's some teams where it's you have to, like the Titans, you have to go Cam Ward. And then I think with the Jets, they're one where you could go a couple of different directions, and the team, the fans not boo at you.
Yeah, definitely. Number 8, the Panthers. Most mocks have them going with an edge rusher here, and I think that's what they do. I think they take Jalen Walker from Georgia. Not the Patriots. The Panthers have done well with their defense from free agency, and their offense does need help, But I think bolstering the defensive line with the best remaining prospect is the smartest move here. And again, as we said with some of these teams, I could see the Panthers trading back, especially if Genty and Shedeur are still on the board, like what we have right now. I think there's some teams that would trade up trying to get either Genty or Shedeur with this number 8 pick. But if they don't trade back, and just for the sake of simplicity, didn't do trades in this mock draft, which isn't going to happen. But just for simplicity, I think I said it again. The Panthers take Jalen Walker. Just bolstering their defense is the best pick right here.
For sure. Yeah, no disagreement there. I would, in a much bigger, more complex mock draft, I would probably, like you said, I'd probably have them trading back, especially if we have the perfect mock draft up to this point, and you still have Genty and Shedeur, I definitely think that they would trade back, because they're in a spot where they have so many places that need to develop, but they have places that need to develop, but they have players that can develop in a lot of these places.
Yeah.
And so they can wait. They're a team that can wait. But if not, I think Jalen Walker's a great pick.
Perfect. Yeah, as you said, the Panthers, even trading back, I think is a good option for them because they can fill more holes, get more picks by trading back, which I think would be a little more valuable. There are a lot of good edge rushers in this class, and so if you trade back and still get a guy like Shamar Stewart, or even the guy from Boston College, but number 9 is the Saints, and I think here the Saints will take Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, as we mentioned, Derek Carr may not even play this season, but I think even if Derek Carr does make it back this season, I like a quarterback going here. I think Shedeur is the number 2 quarterback in this class, although I really would not be surprised if Jackson Dart is in play here. In my opinion, Dart is a better year 1 starter than Shedeur. Jackson Dart, having played in the SEC, just used to defenses in a way that Shedeur really isn't. I like his decision making and the way that Shedeur tends to hold the ball and take more sacks, which of course he had a really bad offensive line.
Yeah.
But I think Jackson Dart is a better year 1 starter. So as I said, not surprised if he goes here at number 9, even above Shedeur, just because of the fit. But right now, I like Shedeur Sanders going at number 9 to the Saints.
I think for the Saints, I like Jackson Dart more.
Okay.
Just me personally, I think I like him for their team. But I think with all of the... I don't want this to sound like a negative thing, but with all of the hype and the stigma around Shedeur, I wouldn't be surprised if he went.
Yeah.
If they picked him instead of Jackson Dart, I think that's a great pick. I think that's fine. But I think with the Saints' play style, with the quarterbacks that they've had in the past, I think Jackson Dart is probably a better fit. But I think they're more likely to go with Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Just with how the offseason has played out, everything that's kind of gone on, I think that probably Shedeur Sanders is the pick that they'll take if he lasts that long.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there.
If he doesn't last that long, then Jackson Dart all the way.
Of course, I'm with you there. Because I really like Jackson Dart. He's someone that I think will have a really bright NFL future if he goes in a good place. And the Saints aren't as good a place as other teams he could go to down the line. But I really like Jackson Dart going here. I just think Shedeur has the edge. He probably has a higher upside as a prospect. Jackson Dart has a really high upside with his passing ability. I really like just the film that we have on him at Ole Miss. But Shedeur, I think, has a little bit more of a playmaking ability, a little bit more running than even Jackson Dart does, even though Dart is a mobile quarterback. Number 10, this is probably the last one that we'll go into a bunch of detail on, partially because at number 10 I have the Bears taking Ashton Genty. The Bears have had a great free agency addressing the offensive line and the defense, which is what they really needed. So Ben Johnson does what he does best here. He gets a playmaker. Jeanty, he's the most explosive player in the draft. Maybe someone like Matthew Golden, maybe someone like Travis Hunter, but Ashton Jeanty is a generational running back prospect. He's run over every defense he played pretty much. Even in the last game against Penn State, he ran for over 100 yards and was one of 2 running backs to do that all season. If Jeanty is on the board here, I don't think there's any way Ben Johnson passes on him. Just what he's used to working with in Detroit with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Jeanty is kind of a mix of both of those.
Yeah.
He's Superman on the field, kind of.
Yeah, he fits with Ben Johnson there. He fits this game perfectly. Mm-hmm. He fits the coaching style, and the Bears are progressively building up their team, and so placing that running back, filling that running back hole is perfect. I would not be surprised if Jeanty doesn't last this long.
Yeah.
Like I said, if the Raiders take him, that's a good pick. But if he does, absolutely the Bears. It seems like this is one of the options where it's like this has to be the way. This has to be the way that they go. I think it's the perfect pick, and the perfect pick, and he's the perfect fit for that offense.
Yeah, definitely. And I love Jeanty as a player, even off the field. I think he's a great prospect, and so I'd love to see what he does on the Bears. I don't particularly like rooting for the Bears. I don't really know why, but Ben Johnson working with Ashton Jeanty, I mean, his highlight after highlight is what we're going to see probably. That was the top 10. Those are the most interesting picks. Do you want to touch on some highlights of the rest of the draft? Do you want to kind of run through everything really quick? Do you want to move just past the rest and let people look at our Instagram to see that and talk about some chaos picks and quarterback needs?
Oh yeah, I think that we can maybe touch on some highlights if you want. I can see one that I definitely off your draft that I like a lot.
Okay.
Is 17, the Bengals taking Mikael Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Michael? No.
I don't know.
Anyway, I think that D-line is so important.
Yes.
With the offseason, their defense has, in a way, kind of fallen apart over the offseason, especially D-line. And so just looking at that, that's the perfect pick there. Their offense is obviously incredible. That's what I was thinking of when you were talking about Cam Ward having to play so good because he has a terrible defense.
Yeah. Joe Burrow. Yep.
Joe Burrow and really the Bengals offense. And so going D-line there, that makes all the sense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I saw a stat that with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase, the 3 of them use up about half of Cincinnati's cap space.
Oof.
There's 3. I mean, Joe Burrow is debatably the best quarterback in the NFL. Jamar Chase is debatably the best wide receiver in the NFL. T. Higgins, he's not the same caliber that Jamar is, but he's one of the top wide receivers.
Yeah.
And so, I think the Bengals need defense. Just with how I have the draft going, I think Mikael Williams is the best pick here. I think having an edge rusher opposite Trey Hendrickson, if he does even stay, is going to be the best option here. But just because obviously the Cowboys won't take Jeanty if he's off the board, I think that the Cowboys will go wide receiver in the first round. As I said with the Raiders, I think the Cowboys should go wide receiver first round and running back second round. I think some great wide receiver or running backs will still be left in the second round, but I think the best caliber wide receivers will go first round.
Okay.
Just with the groups that the top 4 or 5 wide receivers, and then just a group of running backs after Jeanty, and I think Hampton has solidified himself at number 2, kind of apart from the rest. Mm-hmm. But I think at 12, the Cowboys will go wide receiver and go Emeka Egbuka. Just the playmaking ability that he has. We've seen so many Ohio State wide receivers do well in the NFL, and I think the Cowboys will be lucky to get another one.
Fair. If you think the draft plays out kind of how we've talked, but at number 9, the Saints take Jackson Dart, and Shedeur Sanders is still there, do you think the Cowboys still skip on him? Or do you think the Cowboys take Shedeur Sanders? That's
a really, really interesting question. I do, just because of Joe Milton, I don't think that they'd take him. If Joe Milton's out of the picture, I would definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys take the third quarterback off the board, even if Jackson Dart is still here.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised at that. And, of course, they did not trade much for Joe Milton, so they could even see him as a number 3 and then a future number 2 after they draft someone. But I think that there's a little more that the Cowboys could do than drafting a quarterback this year.
Yeah.
But I think that is really interesting. The Cowboys are a sleeper pick for a quarterback. I think there's a few teams like that are kind of sleeper quarterback picks, and I think the Cowboys definitely are one of those.
I thought I'd ask.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Shamar Stewart, he's someone I think is a really interesting prospect because he wasn't super highly touted coming into the draft because he had, I think, 1.5 sacks each of the last 3 seasons in the NFL. At Texas A&M, which is obviously not good for an edge rusher.
Mm-mm.
But his combine was insane. I mean, he tested like Myles Garrett at the combine. So I think right after the combine, people kind of over-exaggerated and had him going 8 to the Panthers pretty often. I think he will go 18 to the Seahawks, just about the middle of the first round. Obviously, athletic abilities, obviously crazy, but his production in college, I do think, should be a question mark, and so I think he'll go about 18 to the Seahawks. But, sorry, were you?
No. I was affirming.
Yeah. Later in the draft, I think the 3 picks late in the draft that are pretty much solidified, at least in my mind, I'd be surprised if they don't go this way. At 20, the Broncos, I think, should take a running back.
Mm-hmm.
They'd need a wide receiver. Courtland Sutton can't continue to be wide receiver 1 all by himself.
No.
Troy Franklin, he was good, and they've had other good wide receivers, but especially after trading away Jerry Jeudy, they need someone else. But they go running back here, I think, and right now in this mock draft, only Genty has come off the board, and the number 2 running back is Amarian Hampton. No one has tested like him at the combine. His tape is really good at North Carolina. North Carolina has had pretty good running backs recently as well. And I think that at 20, the Broncos taking Hampton is pretty much solidified in my mind. 21, the Steelers need a quarterback. And right now, I think this is Jackson Dart. As you said, I could see Dart going 9 to the to the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shedeur sliding this low. But I do wonder if Shedeur slides this low, if someone trades between there, or before the Steelers in round 1.
To pick him up.
To pick Shedeur, yeah. Because there are going to be teams that are willing to trade back in this teen area. There's pretty much everything after the Bears is a question mark.
Yeah.
Up till the 20s, I think. So yeah, every pick in the teens is a question mark, in my opinion.
For sure.
And then 22, this is just a pick that I've put in mocks for a long time. I think the Chargers take Holston Loveland. The Chargers need a tight end. This guy's from Michigan. He's the perfect Jim Harbaugh tight end with blocking and receiving. This guy, he's not the prospect that Tyler Warren is, but if he makes his way to Jim Harbaugh, he's going to Jim Harbaugh. He's a similar pick to, if Genty makes his way to the Bears, he's going to Ben Johnson. Colston Loveland is that same pick with the Chargers, in my opinion.
For sure. Sorry, I'm just looking at I was looking at the Bills at 30.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little distracted.
Yes, I was about to go there because that's an interesting one.
Yeah. No, continue. I want to know what else. We don't have to go straight there.
Well, there's not a ton between. I think this is a deep draft for edge rushers, so I could see 5 edge rushers, maybe even 6 going in the first round. I want to look back. Just for edge rushers, I have Jalen Walker going to the Panthers at number 8. I have Mike Green going to the Falcons at 15. Mikael Williams going to the Bengals. Shamar Stewart going to the Seahawks. Donovan Izuruakau going to the Packers at 23. James Pierce Jr. going to the Ravens at 27. Nick Skirton going to the Lions at 28. Landon Jackson going to the Commanders at 29. So that's 8 edge rushers in the first round. That's even more than I realized I put in there. But all of these guys are first round caliber.
Definitely.
At least early second round. And if edge rusher is a need for a lot of these teams, as it is, I could see this being a really heavy edge rusher draft class. I don't remember why I started talking about that.
Let's talk interesting. Because it's interesting.
It's interesting. There you go.
It's important.
But I think maybe the reason I was talking about that is that I don't have as many wide receivers going first round as a lot of people think, which is kind of counterintuitive because wide receivers go in the first round a lot.
Yeah.
And so before this, I'll just go back through. We'll count Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. So that's Travis Hunter at 2, to Troy McMillan to the Raiders at 6, Emeka Egbuka to the Cowboys at 12, and then a big gap. I don't have any wide receivers going till the Bills at number 30, taking Luther Burden. Again, Matthew Golden not making the first round, it kind of does hurt because I think Matthew Golden, with his combine, has the ability to be a first round pick.
For sure.
Other guys, I don't know if anyone else. I think that top group of 4, to Troy McMillan, Matthew Golden, Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, and then Travis Hunter if you want to throw him in there.
Yeah.
That's the top 4 or 5. Those guys all deserve to go first round. I just think Matthew Golden isn't the prospect that the Bills want. The Bills want more of a Luther Burden than they want Matthew Golden, who's more of just a deep threat, at least at this point. And I think just the Bills' wide receiver core, Khalil Shakir, he's good. He can't carry the same load that he has been. Amari Cooper is old. I don't even remember if the Bills re-signed him or what his deal was.
I think it was a 1-year deal, but I don't know if they re-signed.
I'll look into it. I think he's a free agency, yes, Amari Cooper is a free agent currently, and so he could go back. But I see, even with Keon Coleman, just the contested catch ability that Keon Coleman has, especially with his basketball background.
Definitely.
But he didn't have the production that we wanted to see in year 1, so he's not someone you give up on yet. But if the Bills want to make it back since after the 90s to a Super Bowl, if the Bills want to beat the Chiefs, I think obviously they need to do it on defense, but they need to do it on offense as well. They need both.
Yeah. When you have someone like Josh Allen needs people to throw to.
Yes.
And yes, Keon Coleman and Shakir are both good options, but they need help.
Yes.
They definitely need help. And I think Luther Burden is a good pick there because Keon Coleman, he can be a deep threat. And like you said, the contested catch, if you need to throw a ball up there, he's a good spot there. But you need more than that.
Yeah.
And I think Burden fills that gap.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of as you were saying, I think Burden is a great mix between the two. Shakir, he has great speed, he's great as a deep threat, pretty good route running. And then Keon Coleman doesn't have the same speed, but has great contested catch ability. A lot of people coming into the league were comparing him to DeAndre Hopkins. And I think Luther Burden is just a good mix there.
Yeah.
He gives you their route running. He gives you some of the deep ball skills. But yeah, having not many wide receivers in this first round, especially in the place that the NFL is today, is
weird.
It feels really weird. There's only 3, maybe 4 if you count Travis Hunter going in the first round.
Yeah.
But just the way I see this playing out, this is just kind of what I see. I think people are really going to need to make an impact on defense.
Definitely.
Just based on how defenses are in the NFL this year. Partially because so many people picked offense last year. Yeah. And so there's more stark need for defense this year.
And some of these, receiver-wise, some of these good receivers, if they drop to the second round, which I think it's very likely that a lot of them do, we've talked about this before, probably in our last draft episode last year, how when a good team that has good receivers gets in the draft or in free agency another good receiver, number one, that makes the receivers play better because there's contest, and you're contesting for your spot. I think we were talking about the Texans having such a huge receiving core.
Yeah.
Which obviously that did not work out.
Yeah, that did not work at all. That was awful.
But I think the point stands that even when you have good receivers, I guess the Bills definitely have a spot that's open. But when you have teams that have better receiving cores, getting another receiver, let's say a good receiver like Golden drops, he's in the second round, and a team that is good on the receiver end picks him up, he is going to make the other receivers play better.
Yeah.
And like a person like Shakir, who has so much weight on him, he can play better when there's other good options. When you lift that weight off of Shakir and he can play without all the pressure that he's had the past few seasons, the past season at least, he's going to play better. And the rest of the receiving core is going to play better. So there's not only the competition that kind of steps up the level of play, but also when you level out the load, that makes everyone play better. So some of these receivers, yes, maybe we're not gonna have a super heavy receiver class in the first round. Maybe there aren't teams that just really need receivers. There's a couple, but in the second round, when we have good teams that have good receivers, maybe picking some of these guys up, I think that could be really beneficial.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's... A lot of times we think of really good players having to go to bad teams, but sometimes when they drop and a good team picks them up, it just makes that team better.
Yeah.
So.
And like what you were saying, a lot of mocks had the Rams or the Seahawks picking a wide receiver, which I could totally see happening for those reasons. One, because it makes every receiver better. I mean, if you have one of these first-round rookies as the number 2 or 3 receiver, I mean, it means that the second or third best corner is going to be covering this guy. Yeah. But I just think teams like the Seahawks and the Rams have bigger needs than wide receiver right now. Of course, Cooper Kupp is old. Devonta Adams is old. Just a lot of these teams will need to replace their receivers soon, but I don't think it's time quite yet. I think the last pick that I want to touch on is the last pick in the draft. Well, the Chiefs will take an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I could see the Chiefs drafting a tight end with just knowing Kelsey's not going to last too much longer. But the team that won the Super Bowl, the Eagles, they're in a place to just take the best player available. I don't know. The Eagles have just built a super roster.
Seriously.
I don't know if they have much of a weakness. And somehow, I've seen so many mock drafts do this and then just wonder, like, if the Eagles get this guy, like, we're not going to know what's happening. And the same thing happened here. There's not a big need for defensive interior, and so the Eagles get Walter Nolan. Former 5-star recruit, didn't start out great in college, but after transferring to Ole Miss, really made a name for himself there. And if the Eagles get Walter Nolan, like, I don't know. It's over.
Yeah.
I mean, the Eagles and the Commanders being in the same division right now is just crazy. Who would have thought, like, a few years ago that we would say that? Yeah. But I think Walter Nolan to the Eagles could be the steal of the draft going at the end of round 1.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a flyover on my mock draft. I'll post that on our Instagram after this. But a few more things I want to talk about. I want to talk about some chaos that could happen. As we talked about, Michael Penix going number 8 last year, that just caused chaos.
Yeah.
Because it meant teams that we expected to get a quarterback didn't. It means that just someone who expected to go to the Falcons didn't go there. Just, mock draft breaker kind of picks.
Yeah.
One pick that I think could really break mock drafts. I think Ginty could go even higher than we expect him to. I think, one, the Jags could take Ginty. ETN hasn't been who we thought he'd be. The Jags need a better offense. But even the Browns could take Ginty. He could go number 2 overall. We saw in 2017, Saquon went number 2 overall. And if the Browns didn't need a quarterback, but the Browns seem to always need a quarterback, they probably would have taken, did I say Genty? I meant to say Barkley. Obviously Saquon. Saquon probably would have gone number 1 overall on that draft.
Yeah.
So I think Genty could be in play even at number 2 overall. I don't know if there's a cap for how high people want to draft Genty. Of course, I do see the Jags going more towards the pass game, and the Browns probably going defense, but I would not be surprised to see Genty go number 2 overall.
Wow. I definitely think that's a possibility. That would be pretty. That would definitely cause chaos, I think, down the line. I mean, what I said, Jalen Milroe, that'd probably cause a lot of chaos because just a lot of picks would probably move up, or move down. I guess good players would probably move down, but yeah, that would. I would be less surprised if the Browns took him than if the Jaguars did. But still, that either of those would be insane. But Genty is going to be... I feel like any team wants him.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of prioritizing, I guess.
Yeah.
So going number 2, that would be insane, but that's not that crazy.
Yeah. So, it kind of plays off of this first pick. But if Genty goes number 2 overall, but even if he doesn't, I think we could see a run on running backs in the first round. Obviously, a lot of teams need running backs. Just to throw a few out there. The Raiders, the Cowboys, the Vikings, the Jaguars, the Bears, and there's more too. And there's a lot of high caliber running backs. We kind of, as I talked about with wide receivers, we have that first 4 or 5, and then with running backs, there's the first 4, and then there's kind of a gap between the next group. We have Genty, obviously, at number 1, Hampton at number 2. At 3 and 4, I think is Henderson and Judkins really close. Then a little gap between Caleb Johnson from Iowa, Scattaboo, Dylan Sampson, DJ Giddens, and RJ Harvey. These guys I just think will go a little later in the draft than these first 4 will go. But I could see all of these first 4 going in the first round. Of course, just with how value works in deep position groups, it's not likely, because if there's a lot of good players, that means he can get these good players later. But we've seen the running back position overall rise like crazy in value. Saquon, Derrick Henry obviously playing big roles in that. Less than 2 running backs in the first round really surprised me. But I think 4 is a number that is definitely possible of running backs in the first round.
Let's say the Bears don't get Genty. Let's say he goes a lot earlier and the Bears don't get Genty. Do you think they just bite the bullet and go with another very quality running back in the first round? Or do you think they try and fill a different spot and then come back, get a running back in the second? Because obviously, like we've said, Genty would be he's a perfect fit for the Bears. It seems that way.
Yeah.
So if they don't get that, what do you think they do there if Genty isn't on the board?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that they'll just go best player available, which is kind of what I have them doing right now. And it just so happens that maybe the best player in the draft is still available. But I do think we have good enough running backs in this draft that Ben Johnson and just the Bears management could see Omar and Hampton going number 10. I've seen a lot of mocks having Hampton go 12 to the Cowboys. As I mentioned, I don't think the Cowboys will go running back first round unless Genty's available. But yeah, I don't really know what I think the Bears would do here. I think they're, as I said, kind of best player available. And it just depends on what they think of guys like Hampton.
Okay, that's fair.
Those are 2 of my 3 biggest chaos picks. And then the other chaos pick is one we've talked about a lot, is Jackson Dart. I think even if Shedeur goes 2 or 3 to the Browns and Giants, which I don't like happening because we'll talk about just other options with quarterbacks. But even if he does go 2 or 3, I think Jackson Dart could go to the Raiders or to the Saints. As I said, he's a confusing prospect. Mocks have him all over the board. I've seen mocks having, this has been a little while, so things have changed, but having Cam Ward at 1, Shedeur at 2, and Dart at 3. I don't love him going that high, but I've seen other mocks having him miss the first round entirely. But also, as we've talked about, I think he could be a safer pick than Shedeur. Better competition, just playing in the SEC. They've both started 4 years in college, but I think Jackson Dart is probably a safer pick. So I would not be surprised to see 3 quarterbacks in the first round. That's, I think, what's most likely, honestly, just with the Titans needing to take 1, the Saints probably needing to take 1, and the Steelers needing to take 1. But we could even have a surprise 4th. Milroe could sneak his way in. Mm-hmm. Even Tyler Shuff from Louisville, he put up a really good combine. He's older. I mean, he was born in 1999, so obviously older prospect.
Yeah.
But if another team just ends up really needing a quarterback, we could see 4 in the first round. I think 3 is really likely, though. I mean, I would be surprised if we don't see 3 in the first round.
For sure. Yeah, I think Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart is a very good fit for the Saints. I think that the Raiders are kind of in the situation quarterback-wise that the Giants are in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great situation, but you have somebody who can get you through 1 or 2 more years.
Yeah.
So that in this draft you can fill a different position. So I think Jackson Dart to the Raiders would really surprise me, or a quarterback in general to the Raiders. But it's definitely not impossible. But I don't think that's very likely. But if Jackson Dart went to the Saints, I think that would be I think that's great.
Yeah. It's funny how after Geno Smith gets traded to the Raiders, it just seems like his career isn't going to last that much longer.
No.
With the Seahawks, it's like, okay, like you can have like 5 more years probably, and then gets traded to the Raiders. It's like, oh, like 2 years and you're done.
That's what the Raiders do to
Yep,
people.
that's what the Raiders do. And so yeah, I don't. I like Jackson Dart going somewhere where he can be a backup for his first couple of years, just because that extra little boost of development. I mean, we saw what happened with Jordan Love. I think that Jackson Dart would benefit even more from that. I think Shedeur would really benefit from that as well. I just think that people see him as a higher end prospect, and so that won't happen with him.
Mm-hmm.
But sticking with quarterbacks, I just want to talk about what teams kind of need quarterbacks. Obviously, we talked about Titans, Steelers, Saints. Those guys need quarterbacks. The Browns and Giants, I think they need to wait. I think when you look at the 2026 quarterback class, I'm kind of skipping some stuff in my notes. Yeah, we'll talk about that, and then we can talk about maybe some teams that could be surprises to take a quarterback. Like what you talked about, the Cowboys. Those weren't in my notes. So props to you, Baden. And then, but yeah, the 2026 quarterback class, I think, is similar to this. Arch Manning, as what we've seen of him, he will be running for the first round pick, at least right now. And teams like the Browns and Giants, I think, hopefully just wait until next year, see what they get. Drew Aller from Penn State also is looking like a first round pick. Lenore Sellers is a really interesting prospect. Had a really good year last year at South Carolina, and if he continues like that, he could be a first round pick. And then Sam Leavitt is a similar kind of prospect with Arizona State, who performed surprisingly really well. So he and Sellers are 2 guys where it'll be really interesting to see. And then there's guys who probably be day 2 or after picks. John Mateer was at Washington State, just transferred to OU. Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. And then Max Johnson and Connor Wakeman are 2 guys who have had weird careers, but I could see finding themselves in day 2. So I think it'd be better for teams like the Browns and Giants to wait, play with what they've got, see what happens. But as you said, the Browns aren't in a great situation. No. Giants also aren't. So we'll see what happens. I don't love those teams taking a quarterback when they have so many other needs.
That's fair. I agree with you on the Giants, but on the Browns, I don't know. I feel like the Browns kind of need to. The Browns need to do something in the quarterback position.
Yeah,
because they've had nothing for quite a while.
Yeah, they gave up on Baker too early.
Yeah, they did.
Hey, we're talking about the draft. We've talked about this. We'll see if it happens. But we've talked about doing an Instagram Live for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have a ton of followers on our Instagram right now, but it gives us an excuse to watch the draft and to record ourselves doing it.
Exactly.
And to, help ourselves get a little more popular maybe with a draft live stream. So we'll see. But talking about quarterbacks, other teams that could be a surprise to pick a quarterback. Well, first two teams that I think would do wisely to prep for the future. The Rams, as we talked about in past episodes, if Jackson Dart falls to the Rams, it's just the perfect situation for him. Mm-hmm. Even, maybe the Rams draft Milroe if he sneaks into the first round. Just someone who's high upside, who can learn behind Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. I mean, that's paradise for a quarterback. That's what you want as a quarterback. And then the Raiders, just with Geno being older, I think they could be someone who would be wise to prep for the future. But these are 5 teams, some of these I've already mentioned, that I think could be a surprise to pick a quarterback. Some of these are more surprising than others. But the Raiders, obviously they have Geno, but I wouldn't be surprised there. The Jets, they have Justin Fields, but if they don't have faith in him, I could see them getting someone even to compete. The Seahawks, again, they have Sam Darnold, but I honestly trust Justin Fields more than I do Sam Darnold right now. Sam Darnold has better supporting cast, but I like the Jets, or I like the possibility of both of these teams possibly selecting a quarterback.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, as you talked about, and the Lions. Jared Goff is just getting older. I think that with their young offense, besides Jared Goff, I think it'd be really cool for them to pick someone, even if Jackson Dart makes his way that late. Even having Milroe to develop, I think could be a really cool option for them to transition out of Jared Goff and into this new regime while their offense is still running at the high caliber that it does.
For sure. Now would be a very good time to be a rookie quarterback on the Lions. Mm-hmm. A few years ago, it would not have been a great time to be a rookie quarterback on the Lions.
No, it wasn't a good time to be any quarterback on the Lions.
Yeah, but to be able to learn under Jared Goff as he gets to the end of his career, but he's obviously still playing amazing. But yeah, just I think that's definitely a possibility. It would be I guess it depends on who falls that far. Mm-hmm. Would be more surprising than not. But yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. And like you're saying, it's a very young team, and so just getting somebody to develop and learn to be able to fit that team well, I don't think that's bad at all.
Yeah.
37 years old.
Yeah. Matthew Stafford is 37. Jared Goff is only 30. Probably because he and Matthew Stafford are just forever linked with that trade.
Yeah.
But Jared Goff just feels like he's so much older than 30. Yeah. He was drafted the same year as Dak Prescott.
That can't be right.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
The Rams traded up to draft Jared Goff first overall in 2016,
Goodness.
And Dak went 4th round in 2016.
Sometimes I forget that Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl
with the Rams. Yep. And Geno is 34. Guys just seem so old when they're not that. I mean, think about 30, 35, 40-year-olds that you know, and oh yeah, when we see that age in the NFL, it's you're done.
You're done, yeah.
And then you have LeBron playing at what? How old is LeBron? Is he 40?
57.
57?
45? 43. 40.
LeBron's only 40? See, again.
What? See, yeah,
he should be 45 or, not 50.
Maybe we're just mean.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
And then, just seeing pictures of Ovechkin, who plays for the Capitals in NHL. Let me just show you a picture of what Alex Ovechkin looks like, and you tell me how old you think this guy is. Look at not that
like that right there. Look at
this. Yeah, look at that. He just broke the record for all-time goals scored in the NHL.
My guess would be at least mid 40s, if not mid to high 40s.
Yeah. If you're at home and don't know NHL and Ovechkin, just look up a picture of him. He's 39. He looks like he should be a coach, or like, if he was a coach, you'd think like, oh, this guy's 70. But no, he's 39.
Gosh.
So, anyway, that's all I got planned.
That's what contact sports does to you.
Exactly.
Stage.
Yeah. Anything else?
Boom. No, I don't think so. I think we covered a good bit of information there.
Bet.
We've talked about the. Do we want to talk about the merch?
Hey, let's do it. So we'll post this on our Instagram too. But merch is coming. We made our first order. 5 hats, 20 shirts. We'll talk about price. Probably $25 or $20. We gotta, we haven't made any money on our podcast yet, so gotta start somewhere after about a year. Baden and I will keep some of that, of the merch.
Keep some of the
so
merch.
Maybe like 18 shirts and 3 hats.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want merch, this is just our preliminary order. So you got to come quick because we got a limited amount. And if it sells out, which hopefully it will, I've already had a lot of people talk to me like, hey, merch, like I'll buy some. I'll be a buyer. Even both of our families. Like if both of our families buy some, that's like half of our merch.
Actually, no, I have had people come up because me and Hank both have shirts. If you've seen the shirts that Hank's showing you a shirt right now.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've seen the shirts that me and Hank wear, they'll be a little bit different than that, just coloration and stuff. But I have had people come up to me and be like, "Dude, where'd you get that shirt? That's the same shirt as Hank's podcast." I'm like, you're not gonna believe this. You're not gonna believe. No, but people have been excited at the idea of some T-shirts. So we thought it'd be a fun idea to get some stuff out there. People be able to represent a podcast. Yeah, we'd really appreciate it, and we hope y'all enjoy the design and stuff whenever we put that out there. But yeah, I think this is going to be pretty cool. Mm-hmm. It's just another step in the program.
Yeah, definitely. I like it. Hopefully I think those should be in by the end of this week. But we'll keep y'all updated through our Instagram. And, I'm excited. It'll be fun. New chapter.
Oh, yeah.
With the voice crack. And with that, you want to end it? Or I'll end it.
You end it.
Okay.
End it. It's your script.
It's my script. I don't know. I just kind of say whatever I feel like, and it's just the same thing every time. So, thanks for listening to the Nice Catch podcast. If you love football, continue to tune in each episode from the off season all the way through the playoffs. This is a Nice Catch podcast. I think we should record that and put it in every time instead of me saying it every time. But it's fun. It's fun.
It's nice.